Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Motor City Metrics podcast here as we're simulcasting both on the Tiger Mining Report and our channel. I'm Rogelio, alongside me is Camrin, and it looks like it's just going to be the two of us this evening as Yooper is watching football, watching the Packers play the Chiefs. I think the Packers were up, right, Camrin?
Yep, 14-6.
And Chris got called away for emergency, so he's fixing a furnace right now as we speak in White Lake.
Just Yooper was like, yeah, I mean, the Packers will probably get beat pretty badly, so I'll probably be able to join. And then now they're winning 14-6 at almost half. So
yeah,
good for the Packers, I guess.
Yeah, good for the Packers. They love showing that he's actually a legitimate quarterback. But plenty to get to this evening. Plenty to get to, as Jim Leland is now going into the Hall of Fame. He's got one of the most epic rants we'll probably play here in just a few. We're going to talk about AJ Hinch staying for 1,000 wins for the Tigers. He is a University of Michigan fan. We'll get to see why. And we get some, also have some audio and video from the Kenta Maeda interview, or excuse me, the press conference that he did. So, but yeah, Jim Leland, that is a huge congratulations to him. It's a well-deserved honor. And it's one of those things where, you know, Camrin, there was Lucido Gaston in there. There was a couple other guys who deserve it, but Leland has definitely his impact. I mean, he's the same guy who was able to shut down Barry Bonds. I mean, he's handled a lot of superstars in his lifetime.
Yeah. First off, I'm disappointed that Lou Piniella didn't get in. I think Lou and Jim should both be in. But I mean, Jim's deserving. He's you can't tell the story of baseball managers without mentioning Jim. I mean, the Pirates haven't sniffed the postseason. Well, sorry, they haven't sniffed the World Series since Jim Leland was manager. And then all the personalities he was able to manage throughout his career. I mean, he's one of the best.
Yeah, no, he is one of the best. And this is probably, I mean, outside of, there's a lot of things that Jim Leland does very well. And I got a chance to talk to him in spring training. Yeah, so where are you from? And I said, I was Tiger Mining Report. And this is during when the Tigers took on Tampa, or excuse me, in Tampa against the Yankees. And it was just like, oh, sounds like good. Congratulations. Like I said, seeing him all the time in Toledo as just getting there, complaining about Matt Manning not throwing his fast slider enough. And of course, this is what I wanted to play because this needs to be heard. Warning, there is swearing. So if you cannot handle swearing, then I'm sorry, but I'm just giving you a heads up. There's swearing in this rant. You've been warned. Turn away.
Don't fuck with me. I'm not fucking with nobody. Don't fuck with me. I've had enough of this fucking shit. I'm in it because I'm the fucking manager of this fucking team. That's fine. You don't want to be here. Get your fucking ass out. I'll do it. I'm going to do it. I don't give I'll get it. Everybody knows that you're fucking pissed off. So let's get the fucking shit over with right fucking now. I don't want to see no more or go home. That's fucking fun.
Excuse me, bud.
I'm fucking serious. I'm not gonna put this fucking shit up.
But I do know one thing. I am the goddamn manager, and I'm going to run this goddamn team.
So there's a few things there. I think that's right after Barry Bonds was coming off his MVP season. So imagine laying it on thick to your MVP, Barry Bonds, and then it's not like Barry Bonds disrespected Jim Leland. He disrespected Bill Verdon, I think.
Yeah, that's correct.
And it was Jim sticking up for another coach. It's not. He wasn't even disrespectful to Jim. He's disrespectful to another coach. And I mean, I think that says everything you need to say about Jim Leland.
Yeah, he was very loyal, and he was very loyal to his coaches and a lot of his players. His players loved playing for him, and it was evident too when he retired. And Connor asked, wasn't he in a contract year? I believe that was the year before his contract year. It could be a contract year.
It would have been arbitration.
Arbitration. Okay, yeah, because he was a free agent. What, 92? He was signed.
Yep, 92. He won an MVP and then went to the Giants.
Yeah, the Pirates suffer from the same issue the Tigers did, which was they just really didn't have a lights out guy on the bullpen. They had a really good bullpen. Stan Belinda, there's a couple guys in there. They had more of a bullpen by committee, but it wasn't a really guy with the wipeout stuff. So, but let's get into. We'll talk winter meetings here. The Tigers, or excuse me, as we speak, winter meetings kick off technically tomorrow, but I've seen the dates where it starts today. It's supposed to be a lot of frenzy. We'll see what happens here with Shohei Ohtani. And there's going to be also whether the Tigers get a third baseman or not, or get another pitcher. We'll see. There's a lot of variables. And Mike Doyle in our chat said go get Ty Glass now and a third baseman from Houston. That would be ideal. I mean, there's a lot of things the Tigers can do. We'll get to that. But I wanted to play, so I was able to have some time this evening. And first and foremost, too, I want to thank everybody who reached out to me based off. My wife is recovering well. She is like Wolverine from X-Men. You wouldn't know she had a tumor removed from her brain less than a week ago, and she's recovering well. She is couch bound and running around like that's why I was a little late. I've been running around, and Sundays are usually reserved for bowling, so it's nice to get out of the house, but at the same time, she's recovering well, so she'll be back up at him in a few weeks. So, but that being said, though, there is, like I said, I had a time to get some video, and I wanted to play a little bit of what Tiger fans should expect from Kenta Maeda as he was on with. We had a chance with the presser, and one of the things one big takeaway I take from the presser was one of many things. Scott Boras is a video game boss. Like he speaks in cliches, and I didn't clip his stuff, but it was just hearing him talk, just like, he name drops, it's like, I was talking to Spencer Trokelson, and I was just having lunch, and I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but
he sounds like a mob boss from a Scorsese movie. Like,
yeah. And he does. And speaking of that, I'll play this here.
To negotiate with teams and make it happen. And then here I am today. So I'm very happy about that. So I think props to Scott for PRing me for all the positives that I have or that I may contribute.
As you can see, give tribute to the boss, Boss Boris.
I want to know what he actually said. I wish there wasn't a translator and we could hear what he actually had to say about Scott Boras, because the translators struggled there for a second to put that into words.
Camrin, it didn't occur to me that because I didn't look at the reaction well. It was translation, but he did kind of smirk a little bit, but yeah.
Scott Boras is great at his job. I'll give him that.
Yeah. And so this is Maeda talking post-surgery, how he felt after Cody Saberhagen at the Athletic asked him a question.
Early on the season, unfortunately, I got into the injured list. But afterwards, since around June, I think I've come back pretty strong. Velocities creeped up to pre-surgery, so that's very encouraging. So everything, tracked along very well.
Yeah, and during the interview, he was just talking about why. I mean, the Tigers. I had another clip, but for whatever reason, it won't play on. But it was basically saying that Tigers were very aggressive on courting him, and they did their homework on him, and he was talking about being in the division, so having that familiarity. And also, apparently, the Tigers are big in Japan.
The Tigers not having a Japanese player for so many years, that's not really a huge factor for me. But now that I'm here, I think it's a good opportunity for fans in Detroit and fans overseas in Japan to recognize and raise awareness for Detroit and Tigers. And I hope all the fans will get to know the city and get to know the team.
でも、デトロイトのタイガースのユニフォームとか帽子のマークとかかっこいいから、日本で多分分からずにニューエラのキャップかぶってる人はいっぱいいるんだけどね。
So the Tigers logo on the hat and jerseys, I think that's a pretty cool looking logos. And I think a lot of people in Japan are already wearing hats and jerseys, not knowing it's a Detroit Tiger just for the looks. So it's already a thing here.
That was positive to hear that too. So that was a good thing there. And Stan brings up Boris does have 150 clients that work, and his operation's impressive. Like you're talking binders, stacks of each player, and this might be for 1 year. Like you talk about binders like this thick that I got here, that could be for a month, probably. But
to be clear, it's an agency. It's not like Scott Boras himself is running around trying to negotiate for 150 players. He's just the figurehead.
Yeah,
probably
awesome.
Negotiating for the top players, but
yeah, his top earners more likely. I mean, there's a few Tigers too. I think Torkelson, and I think there's somebody else too.
Torkelson's only big name.
For whatever reason, I thought there was somebody else too. But actually, it was Spencer. I'm sorry, Spencer Turnbull.
Yeah.
I got I got a question about that, about the whole Turnbull thing. We'll talk about that a little later. And then some of the other things for the weekend, and that Camrin did a really good job of capturing here on Twitter, was AJ Hinch was on the show Foul Territory, and it's got a couple players. Was that Todd Frazier?
Frazier, Brzezinski, Eric Kratz, who I think played with Hinch.
Yeah.
And then Scott Braun formerly from MLB Network.
Yeah. Hey, Clay, good to see you in here. Guest on the show as well. So let's go into a little bit of what he said as we present Tiger clips.
He becomes even a better hitter. Maybe the power's a little zapped, or maybe he's not, going to play 150 plus games, but the at-bat quality is legit. He was nasty from coming off the injury, going through the end of the season, and we have a really young rotation. We have some innings questions going into next season, but he still misses bats. He knows how to pitch. We have a couple guys on our team that have some history with him back to his Dodger days. I actually drove him around when I was in Houston. When he was coming over to sign from Japan, I spent a day with him, and he's just a legit dude who can adapt to the style of pitching that he needs to. Big ballpark, good outfield defense. He still misses bats when he doesn't give up fly balls. It's like a perfect match for us.
And he originally was talking about Mark Canha originally on that first part of that clip. So then we got a really good some audio here from AJ Hinch on staying in Detroit, and he had a question that he answered spot on without any hesitation.
Do you get your 1,000th career win as a manager as a Tiger?
Yes. Yeah, 100%.
This song is called Tigers. Let's go. G-O. Come on, Tigers, let's go.
100%.
Love to hear that.
That's awesome.
To me, I think that just how confident you say that, it doesn't mean, oh yeah, World Series this year or all that stuff. Right. It just means like a continuity for your players, for the front office, for the fan base. All that stuff matters in a time when all we talk about every day is who's going to go here, who's going to go there.
Yeah.
Oh, we want this person, we want that person. And the Tigers have a solid rock at their manager position. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I'm lucky to be here. I also love what I do. I love who I work with. The player banter is real. You're talking about Casey Mize. Like, I hope you guys asked him about Auburn football, because I know I did.
Oh yeah.
After they blew it. So these jobs are incredible. When you can get the ball rolling a little bit, you start getting the right people around you, get the right culture. Everybody throws that word culture around, but when you get that right feel, like you guys have all walked in clubhouses and been like, not great. We are the opposite, and I think that's a good, stable, baseline for what's ahead for this organization.
And he's absolutely correct about that. The clubhouse is a very good atmosphere when you go in there, and so it was good to see him on there. The Foul Territory podcast, I believe it's a podcast, so you check it out. It's a part of the Fox Sports brand podcast. So, oh yes, thank you, Connor. Scooble is a Boris Corp client. I knew there was one other person. I totally forgot about that. So, but let's get back to Maeda here, and of course, the question was asked about whether or not that he'll be helping get more Japanese players on the team, and of course, the answer was, of course, whatever the Tigers need and what have you. But as we look at going into winter meetings, Camrin, it seems like as far as some of the bigger names go, you're hearing Ohtani talk possibly getting $600 million. The Boston Red Sox are already out of that sweepstakes. And then it's been really, where's Juan Soto going to be? You hear about Toronto is going to be mentioned in there. And then, I don't know, like somebody asked a question on Twitter and about the Tigers being like the kind of dark horse. And apparently also with Yamamoto, who has been, the Giants are just pushing hard. Apparently that he may not end up signing this week, but I don't know. There's a lot of storylines here, but let's start with as that dark horse candidate, Camrin. I mean, they honestly believe that the Tigers are going to spend.
I believe Scott Harris has the permission to spend if he wants. I don't know if he's going to go as high as some people would like him on a Japanese pitcher, but I think their hats in the ring. Scott Harris hasn't tipped his cap at all, really. I don't think since he joined the Tigers, so it's really hard to say. I hope the Tigers are a dark horse, but I mean, outside of a few John Morosi tweets, we have nothing to really back that up.
Yeah, it was to the point where when I was talking to Chris Mikowski, who's going to be on with us later this week after the winter meetings, he said that he's like, he's just it's super quiet. And so, but as far as where Juan Soto goes, isn't it strange? We're here sitting and talking about this, that this guy, Juan Soto, is already going to be on his third team, and he hasn't reached that big contract yet, has he?
Yeah, he's still arbitration, and he's only 25.
Yeah,
like, I mean, generational talent. I tweeted earlier this week that I'd rather have the Tigers trade for Soto and sign him long term than to go after Ohtani. I love what Juan Soto. I love what he brings. And it seems like the Yankees. I wish I had the tweet pulled up, but the Padres are asking a lot for him, and the Yankees aren't wanting to budge. So I'm hoping the Tigers can maybe give the Padres a little something that the Yankees aren't willing to give, because it seems like the Padres want a lot of arms, and the Tigers have some to give out.
Yeah, and the Yankees, in terms of arms too, they traded quite a bit in the last couple seasons to acquire some talent. So their system right now is not as deep as it once was with arms. So I actually don't blame New York, because if you look at the free agency market right now, the Yankees are pretty much, as far as what you can spend on pitching, I mean, it's kind of limited on what they can do or get. I mean, they could get Blake Snell who knows where the Yankees are going to go with that, but it just seems like Brian Cashman has been more reserved about. You used to think like it was 10 years ago. The Yankees were always mentioned as a place. It was always going to be the Yankees or whomever else. But now it just seems like it's a lot quieter. And if they're not willing to give up those kind of prospects, yeah, the Tigers could give. I mean, you could talk about 3 or 4, possibly even 5 arms for Juan Soto. I do it.
I'd give them Matt Manning, Ty Madden, someone from the bullpen they want, and then someone else in AAA or AA that they want. Like, for 1 year, that's just for 1 year Juan Soto, and hopes of getting to keep him for long term. And I think whoever pulls off this trade, it's going to be like going back to like Miguel Cabrera trade. It's going to be like a blockbuster type thing.
Yeah, and there's going to be a lot of, in terms of like prospects that will go back and if the Tigers see, the thing is that even with that 1 year deal, it's almost like your history repeats itself. Do the Tigers do another Juan Gonzalez deal? And I don't know about that. See, I remember the whole Juan Gonzalez deal when it was happening, and I was just graduating from high school, and it's just like, oh, it's like, come on, he's not going to come here. You could tell his body language, everything. He did not want to be here, and I just rather the Tigers, if they're going to give up prospect capital, I would want reassurances that at least he's going to sign here long term, because then otherwise you waste all that depth you built up for nothing. And
so I guess Soto is a Boris client, I believe. And maybe Harris has tipped his cap a little bit, not to get into Spencer Turnbull too much, but Spencer Turnbull was given a full year of service time. There's logistics and stuff in that, since he was supposed to be on the minor league IL and stuff, but I'm thinking the Tigers gave Boris wanted a little favor, so the Tigers just gave it to him in hopes of keeping Boris on their good side and being able to get the negotiations rolling on some of these better players that the Tigers actually want.
I like that thinking there, Cameron. I like that. You do me a favor, I'll scratch your back, I'll scratch your back. Yeah, I could see that, because this is a completely different negotiation staff with Harris and compared to speaking to Al Avila. So yeah, you want to get off to a good start with that too. So the other, as far as what the Tigers need to address, of course, there's rumors now that Isaac Paredes is on the trade block, which, yeah, strange things have happened. I know Tiger fans may want that, may not. I don't know. I'll ask everybody who's on YouTube this evening, would you like to see Isaac Paredes back in a Tigers uniform? And I should start a poll for that, but
I'll go first if you don't mind.
Go for it.
I love Paredes. I was pretty skeptical of the trade when it happened. I thought Paredes was always a guy where if you actually gave him some playing time, you didn't play him 3 times a week. If you gave him actual at bats, he would be able to come around and prove himself. And he's kept that high OBP while hitting homers. And if you look at his baseball savant, it may not be the prettiest, but he has the same approach that Torkelson started taking halfway through the year, where anything inside, he's pulling it and it's going 400 feet. And then he's also got good enough plate discipline where if you don't throw him something he wants to pull 400 feet, he'll go ahead and take his walk. So, and then you can pencil him in third base, second base, first base. He played all over for the Rays. So, but then again, you're trading with the Rays. So what do the Rays know that everyone else doesn't?
Yeah. And in certain cases, the Tigers, there's some people that could be still involved with the Tigers that know something about Paredes too. There's a couple stories that I heard around there too. And yeah, and Tyler brings up a good point in our YouTube chat here, is that Paredes has also benefited from that very short porch at the Trop in left field. Definitely.
I did look at his X home runs. And if he played every game at Comerica Park, he'd have 30 home runs last year, one less than what he actually had. So I don't even know if it's short porching it in left field. I think when he gets a hold of it, they're no doubters.
Especially, I remember when he was in the Tigers uniform in guaranteed rate field, those couple that he did hit the left. I mean, they were absolute bombs. They were just not wasted pitches. And then there's Matt Chapman. Now there is the thing with Matt Chapman is there's kind of, I think that there's some fans out there that want Matt Chapman because he fills the void and he's 30 years old and would be a good 5-6 more player on a team, and it would be an automatic upgrade. However, how much money does Matt Chapman want? How much is he going to command? Those factors play into it. And you also have, as far as Matt Chapman goes, you have a couple of situations where he's a right-handed bat, which is perfect because the Tigers do need some more right-handed power. They don't have any some more thump in the right side. But then there's the issue of Colt Keith and Justin Henry Malloy, and also with Chase Young. And look, honestly, I'll just say this: Colt Keith is not going to play unless they totally complete change course. If you look at the last month of the season in Toledo, Keefe primarily played second. For whatever reason, Malloy started playing the outfield again when he was told he was going to play third. That being said, and you're putting Young in the Arizona Fall League to see what he has at third. And he wanted the best defensive player at second base in the Midwest League. So it is a conundrum of sorts because the Tigers, I think, really have a couple players that don't fit that. And as far as Paredes goes, no, I'll pass on Paredes. Just that's my 2 cents on it. But Camrin, I'll ask you: Would you go ahead and make a play for Matt Chapman?
No, I think I've said it before that it's has a good chance of turning into Javi Baez 2.0, where he's great defensively. He'll put up 1.5 WAR just on his defense alone. But after his hot start in April of having a 140 OPS, the rest of the year he hovered around an 85 OPS. And then just browsing the Blue Jays subreddit, a lot of people were upset when he came up in clutch situations. He'd either strike out or roll over. So I just don't like Matt Chapman long term, and he'll want a long term contract. I'm looking at a Isaac Paredes or Jamer Candelario type, where if Jace Young is ready to come up and prove himself, that I have no problem giving him that bats and put the paid player getting rep somewhere else.
Well, I mean, there's people. The reason why somebody would want to sign Matt Chapman fans is because he's a name and he's a proven commodity. You know, there's a lot of things we could say about that, but I would pass on that too. Maybe I would love a Candelario reunion, but I think that ship has sailed, unfortunately, based off with the Tigers, the way that the whole situation ended at the end of his career here in Detroit. So, or his time here rather. So I don't know, like that would be nice. But I think also it could come via trade. I think I've been saying this for a while and I'm going to continue to say this. I think there's going to be some sort of prospect trade with the Tigers. I don't know they can go multiple directions. You've seen the Cardinals have signed Kyle Gibson. They've been rumored to get more pitching. So do you trade your trade capital, the Cardinals, for some offensive firepower? Do you make that Gorman trade? There's a lot of, but we have no earthly clue what Harris is going to do. None. He could. I will say this: there's 3 things we can recognize, and tell me if I'm right or wrong about this. 1, he likes players that play multiple positions. That's just a fact. 2, the control the strike zone philosophy, sticks with it with an iron fist. So players that fit that mold. If they don't, he's not interested. And 3, I really think he has no, I don't want to say loyalty, but he doesn't really, I think he's willing to trade anybody he can, whomever it may be, to get, I mean, we saw this earlier with Blake Holcomb. He had a really good year. Tigers traded him, no doubt. But I think the Tigers in the past would have not done the same thing. The Tigers loved hanging on the prospects for way too long. So I think that those 3 things to me seem like the most clearest. Alex Berman would be nice, but I just don't see Houston.
Yeah, I think Houston would want a lot for him, even with just 1 year left. Because they're still in a competitive window. They want to win. I don't know, that Mark Canha trade, it happened middle of the day on like a Tuesday, and no beat reporter had it or anything. Just the Tigers official account came out and, hey, we got Mark Canha, and I'd be on the lookout for something like that again in the next 3 days, like just some random trade that we didn't expect. Hopefully for a third baseman.
Yeah, I think they go to the NL for that. I think an NL team just seems like it's most logical decision here, where the Tigers would go. Also, I mean, if you look at teams like the Cardinals, the Brewers, they have a lot of trade capital to go with, and so. But as far as Isaac Pacheco, Stan did ask a question in here. We got some questions too on Twitter we'll get to, but this one seems fitting to what's going on. Parker Meadows started his aggressive ascent from Detroit from West Michigan. Do we either think that Isaac Pacheco has the same potential? I give him another year to figure it out. He's still very young. I think Pacheco defensively was fine. It's just last year he looked a little overwhelmed with like when a lot of times when pitchers would go up inside, they were able to jam him pretty easily. He had some really bad at bats, not Gage Workman like at bats, but there's some bats where he definitely looked a little overmatched. And towards the end of the season, he was picking up a little bit. But I think he starts in West Michigan again, and I think if he continues to work, I mean, he's working on his swing. I think by the middle of the summer, if he gets off to a hot start, I think by middle of summer you could see him in Erie. But it really depends on how he starts. I see him maybe another year away from being considered maybe on the upper part of the prospect level, but that's just me.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. We have to remember development isn't always linear, and sometimes they have to take a step back to take two steps forward.
What would it take to get Corbin Burns?
I'd rather just go get Woodruff and let him rehab for the year.
Especially with the way the Tigers have changed their medical staff. I'd be interested to see that. So
that's what I mean, I think it'd be a perfect, like, can we take this pitcher who is an elite pitcher who's injured, and can we keep him elite or make him even better after injury? It'd be a great test to have. And he's injured, so he probably isn't. Now's the time to get him before he comes back and hopefully shows out.
Yeah, there's also, we're going to also get to the zip projections too. So we'll get to the zips because that was happening earlier. That happened, was that Friday or?
Yeah, Thursday, Friday.
Yeah, Thursday, Friday. We'll get to that. But as far as anything else to go, I mean, like I said, what's the average age in high A? I think I want to say 21, but I'm not 100% about that. I'll double check that. Our crack research department on that. So, but lastly, I'm gonna non-Tiger related. Are like some of these big market teams have also been very quiet. So I'll have two questions for you, Cameron. One, do you think a big market team is going to do anything major? And two, are the Baltimore Orioles going to do anything or going to attempt to do anything in this offseason?
Unlike where I think Scott Harris has permission to spend, but may not want to, I think the Baltimore Orioles don't have permission to spend, but really want to, because I mean, everything their owner has said and done in the past year has been like anti-Oriole. Ari said he doesn't want to lock up their young core long term, so I don't see the Orioles doing anything unless it's a trade. I don't see them signing some big free agent. The Dodgers, on the other hand, I think they're waiting for Shohei Ohtani to make a decision before they start going out. I think their only thing they've done is Joe Kelly. Oh, and Jason Hayward. So they're waiting to spend big money after Ohtani makes his decision.
Is it bad that I remember that Jason? I was shocked that Jason Hayward was still in the league.
Yeah, he had a good year last year. I think he was like 2.5, 3 WAR player with the Dodgers, and I guess that's what the Dodgers do. They take old guys and somehow make them viable again.
Yeah, we saw that happen with I'm trying to think of. No, I was thinking of Carpenter, but he was with the Yankees when he had success. But no, it's like I said, I'm gonna make so my crystal ball prediction. I'm gonna make my official crystal ball. The Yankees have Brad Osmus in there. All right, so my crystal ball prediction, I'm gonna say the Tigers make a trade and sign at least one player. I know that sounds like a lame prediction, but I think there's going to be some sort of action happening.
Major league player.
Yeah, major league player.
Okay.
Well, yeah, major. Okay, so yeah, let me clear that up. They're going to use their minor league capital to trade for a major league player. That's, again, that sounds very generic, but I mean, if you want me be more specific, it's going to be an NL team. I'd be surprised. You know what? There we go. Bring us like Shota Yamada would be awesome. Would be awesome. That I would love that. That would be Connor. Look right here, dude. That is what I want. I would love for that to happen because there's been rumors the Tigers are pursuing him really hard.
Yeah, my crystal ball prediction is very into the winter meetings. At some point, all the beat reporters are all of a sudden like, "Oh, the Tigers are in. The Tigers are in on whatever Japanese pitcher." I think I guess John Morosi has already reported it a little bit, but I think like Passan or Rosenthal, they might start seeing that the Tigers are connected to something. And then I think I'm going to keep saying it until it happens. I think Akil Baddoo gets traded. I think he's off to a better team.
I like B. Foss is actually spot on about this too. Good call, dude. I forgot about that. He's talking about Ty Madden being a lot of mock trades. That is good call. Definitely good call. You could definitely see that happening. Madden had a really good year. Then he had a really good end to the season at Erie and was money. And once he started locating his fastball better on lefties, it really helped. Yamamoto, Broder, yeah. Look, the dream is Yamamoto, but I just see him going to San Francisco or some big market like that. I would love for that to happen, but this right here, actually, this isn't bad either from Tyler. Sign Shota, Jordan Hicks, trade for J.D. Davis, and sign a lefty reliever. I will say Tyler has been on the J.D. Davis train, conducting that train for a long time now.
There's no way Scott Harris is that active during the winter meetings.
Yeah. I mean, I think one trade drains him. I mean, you saw him during the whole trade deadline when it didn't happen, and you just saw him like just look a little pale on that. So
there's a GM now, so hopefully.
Yeah. What's bad is I can't remember his name off the top of my head right now.
John Greenberg.
Jeff, I think it's Jeff Greenberg. Okay, I believe it is. Look, I'd like to trade. Yeah, the Baddoo to the New York does feel like a good fit. It does. So there's a lot of things that could happen this week. But if you guys your crystal ball predictions on the YouTube chat, please leave them there. Broder, give me come on. Oh, and I have something for. This is for what for Michigan fans, by the way. I didn't say this, but AJ Hinch had a message for the state of Michigan.
Real quick, so you Michigan or Michigan State fan, football wise now?
Man, you are this. So you're going to get me hated by half.
Well, you can. Hey, you just go with
no comment.
You can say no comment.
So no, I'm not going to no comment. You kidding me? I'll give you a good comment. So my first day on the job as a Tigers manager 3 years ago was Michigan State Day, and they asked me that like, hey, who's going to win? Now I did no comment that day because I'm like, you guys might not like me yet. You at least got to get in front of you a little bit. We are Go Blue on our staff because of Chris Fetter and Michael Bedard, two ex-Michigan alums, both coached there, both played there. They love their life. So I'm pro Harbaugh. I'm pro Michigan. That doesn't make me anti-Spartan. Like Michigan State, we still love you when you come to Tiger games, but we're rooting for Michigan this weekend.
And there you go. So leave it at that. All right. So zip predictions. The Fangraphs does a really good job with their zip predictions. We were trying to get Dan Soprowski of Fangraphs on, but he's been a little busy. He actually said he might join us next week. So we'll see. Hopefully we will able to nail him down. But so as far as the pitching sort of pitching, how it looks for zip predictions here as I pull up the screen. Let's see here. That video, by the way, that was made over the weekend. So he was on the podcast, Friday or Saturday. So that was from the Friday or Saturday's Foul Territory podcast. Let's see here. So let's go into the Zip predictions here. And here's how the Tigers fare for 2024. What was interesting was what was encouraging here was Sawyer Gibson Long and contributing at a 1.3 WAR. But right here, Camrin, Jason Foley, was pretty money. His K per 9 goes down a little bit, and just doesn't seem like he looks like he struggles a little bit.
Yeah, I thought that was a little weird. Jason Foley does have a good BABIP, so maybe they're expecting some BABIP regression, but he's still an elite ground ball pitcher, so I still think he outperforms those numbers pretty well. I wish I had enough room to add innings pitch to this, because like they expect Schoolbowl to only pitch 107 innings, possibly have injury trouble again. So that's why he's only at 2 FWAR. And then I was kind of surprised by Mize. His one full healthy season was well better than that. So I guess I hope Mize comes back and from injury well. But yeah, I think Zimborski even said that this is a high ceiling pitching staff. So I think he himself expects them to allow them to outperform these numbers.
Yeah, I think so too. And in terms of historically speaking, how accurate they are, Stan, they usually would be fair to say, Camrin.
They're the projections I like the most. They're I don't want to say they're on the money, but I think they're the most realistic.
Yeah, I was gonna say realistic, and something that you can not exactly hang your hat or exactly count on per se, but they are pretty close most of the time. So, but it is a fun exercise to always look at too, because Fangraphs does a really good job with their data. And so we go into the hitters, and here's how the Tigers were fared here. Riley Green hitting 268, 336, and 438 with an OPS plus of 115. I like that. Spencer Wilson taking another step forward. Kerry Carpenter taking a little. Also, you got to consider though FWAR there's a factor playing the field, correct? With FWAR.
Yeah, they'll hit people pretty hard for their defense with Fangraphs. So,
and then you see Justin Malloy up here, and this seems to me pretty accurate. All things considering, I think there's gonna be an adjustment for him. The Parker Meadows one looks kind of So, as far as predictions go, Stan, in terms of division predictions, I don't think anybody. I want to see one. I want to see one website that gets that right consistently. And
yeah, Zips they were pretty spot on in 22 for the Tigers, but 23 they had the Tigers 4th, right above KC, and then Chicago ended up being way worse than they expected. So the win-loss totals are always a crapshoot, in my opinion.
Yeah, I will concur with that. And yeah, so that's how some of the hitters will fare for the Tigers. I think what's promising on that list too was, as far as production goes, I mean, Javier Baez, it's the 236 doesn't look good, but I think that the glove will play well. But again, what's encouraging is what you see from Mark.
They expect Mark Canha to be just as good as Kerry Carpenter with the bat, which we'll see. I mean, the Baez thing, at least he's 20 points higher in OPS plus. The thing that surprised me is they expect Jake Rogers to regress immensely. I think Rogers ended with a 98 OPS plus, but had 21 homers. I guess Rogers lives and dies by the strikeouts, but I don't see him striking out that much to bring his OPS down by 15, 20 points.
Yeah. I mean, he's supposed to be he's supposed to be working on that this offseason. So again, if anything's a little better than what he did a little bit in just micro improvements, be fine. And yes, Todd, I was avoiding bringing him up. because you look at the numbers and it's just like, boy. But
4 more years. He, I think he'll be better this year just for the fact that he'll get to bat 7th in the lineup. He doesn't have to try and worry about carrying Torkelson, Green, and hitting in the middle and trying to be productive. He can just do his thing in the bottom of the lineup, and then we already know he's valuable in the field. So I'm expecting a 2 WAR season.
People forget that he is actually, for all the complaining about the 4 more years and all the bitching, he does have a good glove. And again, honest question, who's going to replace him at short right now, eternally? They have no options. I mean, you can talk about me with Eddie's Leonard, but I never see him more in the outfield. And shortstop wise, he made a couple. I went back and double checked some of his numbers in Toledo in terms of playing the field. There's some little bit of struggles there in playing the field, but I do. So Tyler brings up a really good idea here with Yohan Moncada remaining contract for the next 2 years to hold things down.
I don't even know how good he is at third base, but nah. I mean, will the White Sox even do that? Do they want to trade in division? And then I think Young is closer than we expect. Again, I think part of the foul territory interview, Hinch even said, like, we're not going to sign players that will block our young prospects, hinting they're not going to block Colt Keith and Jace Young. So I think they're really just looking for someone who can play the position for 80 games until Jace Young is hopefully ready.
So there again, I think that if the Tigers do make a trade, it's going to be if it's going to make a trade for a positional player, it's going to be somebody who's going to fulfill a void that definitely needs to be in terms of just a long-term position player. I think that's where they're going to add, and they're going to try to add players that can help them long-term too. So if they're going to invest or trading their prospect capital, I just see that happening where, as far as getting a player back, the Tigers that fits that Scott Harris mold.
I think they have to feel confident in like their third base that they want long term. I don't think you're confident with Yohan Moncada. I mean, I think he's been worse and worse the past 3 years. Like, he isn't improving, and he's still relatively young. So to see him drop off like he has the past few years doesn't give me hope for his future.
Yeah, and Moncada too. Don't correct me. I sometimes see him struggle with like the routine play. Just like a routine ground ball, it just seems like there's a mental error where he just doesn't field it cleanly. And then every once in a while, he'll make a really good play where you're like, damn. But I think some of the and Stan brings up a good point about the poisoned locker environment. I think goes the whole White Sox organization as a whole is a mess. And I think even with Chris Getz being the new man in charge, I don't know how much more it's going to change. Like, honestly, I just don't see much will change on that. We'll see. But we did get a couple questions on Twitter, and we'll get to anybody else's questions here before we get out of here. Pat talked about the thoughts on Detroit's viability as a dark horse for a top tier free agent in this class. And I mentioned that question earlier, and it's a good question, Pat, and thank you for sending that in on Twitter or X, whatever. I personally think the Tigers are playing in terms of among their division. They're already the most aggressive. I think they have a plan. They're going to stick with it. The White Sox haven't really done nothing. The Twins are cutting salary. Who knows what the hell's Kansas City's doing? And as far as Cleveland goes, they didn't spend last year. I don't see it happening again this year. I mean, they got Josh Bell at the time, but that was more of a trade. Was that a trade? I believe.
No, it was a signing, but they got rid of him already. So
yeah.
Plus Terry Francona's gone. So
yeah,
I mean, hopefully they're not running into another Brad Ausmus type situation over there where they completely fail after getting rid of Francona. But I guess Now I see why not. Why can't the Tigers win the AL Central this next year, especially if the Twins are cutting payroll and they're the only ones to make moves, like you said. So,
And Stephen Voigt, no offense to Stephen Voigt or anything, but you're replacing a legend. And yeah, you're right. I could totally see the Brad Ausmus effect going in there in the Cleveland. I mean, Cleveland, Terry Francona. You talk about how they say, like, sometimes you hear when people say managers don't make a difference. Francona did. He got the most out of everybody, every position he had. And so, yeah, the fact they won't spend either doesn't help Cleveland ending in the offseason. From Deadly Ninja Bees, will the Tigers add any bats, or are we gambling on rookies to fill a couple spots? And 2, what are you guys watching for the next 116 days? Don't say the Pistons.
I haven't watched a single Pistons game this year, thank God. Haven't even seen a highlight, I think. In terms of, I think they'll add one more vet bat that doesn't get anyone excited, but yeah, they'll add another vet bat.
I think in terms of adding a bat, I think it'll come via trade. And as far as Pistons go, yeah, I'm with you, Cameron. I haven't watched a single clip. Look, I've been covering the Tigers here for the last decade. I've been watching Tigers baseball all my life. And the good part of the 90s, they were bad. I don't want to watch another. Can't do it. I can't do it. And I've been watching the Wings. Actually, I've been watching the Red Wings here and there. But really what I've been watching a lot of has been just movies I haven't seen. Like, I always make a point to jot down movies or shows that I missed during summertime, because during the summertime, I rarely watch TV. I'm either at a game or writing about the game or doing something. Yeah, so there's more likely I'll be working on a top 30 list here shortly for the Tiger Minor Report. So I'll be working on that. Let's see. I'm actually traveling. I think in February I'm supposed to go to Tacoma for my day job. So we'll see. But other than that, yeah, my 116 days. The Lions are 9-3. So I'll probably enjoy some football. Michigan's playing the Rose Bowl against Alabama, which will get smoked. Let's not mince words here, because that's what's going to happen. So, I know there's also, what else is going on?
If you need TV recommendations, just hit me up on Twitter. I got hundreds. I watch too much TV.
Yeah, you know what? I haven't watched yet the Righteous Gemstones yet. I haven't watched the new season, so I'm behind on that. And yeah, there's a lot to get to. So I just watched the Little Richard documentary on HBO Max. Or Max now, whatever that was. That was pretty good. And I've been watching a show called American Monster. So that was, yeah. So I got plenty. Yeah, I got plenty to get to with that as well. From Brooke Haymaker, are the Winter Meetings used to push previous talked about trades to the finish line, or is this more of a place where deals are created out of thin air? Brock, that's a very good question. I think it's a little bit of column A and column B. I think that there are deals that do come out of thin air, but there's also maybe they're revisiting a talk that they had before. We saw this a couple times where, and I will say there's one thing about Harris too, Cameron. I forgot to mention this. There's certain players they have earmarked that they like. I mean, what happened with the trade, the Phillies, when the trading for their infield prospect, and I'm trying to remember, I'm drawing a blank now.
Last name Lee. That's all.
Lee, yeah, for Lee. They liked Lee, and they inquired about him before during the whole Nick Maton deal. So they might have a couple guys that they're already kind of looking at too. Billy's Bible Mockers. I can't wait to watch that show. The last season, the way Eric Andre dies in that show is phenomenal. I love that show. I love anything that the whole cast is fantastic. Anyway, neither here nor there. But yeah, I think it's a little bit of column A, column B with that. So
it's just a place where everyone is at one time. So I think you have a mixture of both, because you have all parties there to talk about things.
Yeah. By the way, one last Righteous Gemstones reference. My back. I say that all the time. It's a constant. My brother and I say it to each other all the time. What's wrong today? My back. All right. Anyway. So as far as what is left to talk about here, I mean, so kick it off tomorrow. Will be, if any breaking news happens, we'll be all over it. And then as far as this week goes, when we'll be talking hopefully to Chris McCoskey at the end of the week, towards the end of the winter meeting. So we'll recap that. If any action happens, like I said, we'll be on top of it. And I'm trying to think of what else. And I hope there is. I really hope there is, because I would like for the Tigers to continue this building this momentum of acquiring players, building out roster. The Jason Benintendi stuff has been good. There's a lot of good news involved in the Tigers. And it's not just us blowing smoke up people's butts. It's legit.
It's almost like they've been building a puzzle, and we're finally getting towards the end of the puzzle where we're seeing where everything fits in together. And last winter meetings was just Joe Jimenez for Justin Henry Malloy. So I'm just hoping maybe something bigger than that to talk about this year.
Yeah. And like I said, we'll keep you posted and we'll let you know what's going on. As far as the minor league report goes, we'll start our rankings of the top 30 re-rankings. And by the end of the month, we will also have our new top 30 for sure. And we did the top 5 games of the minor league season. Number 4 is going to drop in this week. But number 5 was Lakeland coming back, almost beating Bradenton in a wild game where Bradenton at one point was up 14-0. And the Flying Tigers stormed all the way back. So a lot of people think the Tigers are going to win the division this year. We'll see. Again, crystal ball predictions. I think this week will be a big indication of how it fares. We'll see how it goes. So, I think they're a little bullish on Keith and prospects, but we can talk about that another time. So, thank you for watching us this evening live. We appreciate it. And if you're listening at home on the podcast, please leave us a review and let us know what you think. And also, please, if you want to, we have a PayPal link on our description. If you like donating a few bucks to the show, it's going towards spring training because we have to start thinking about that and costs for next year. So, and if you go to our minor league report site, there's something you can buy shirts, anything that you can do to support the site. We really appreciate it. So thank you so much for watching. And for myself and Cameron, do you have any final words, Cameron?
Packers are still somehow winning.
Wow. Yeah. Wow.
21-19. Good night for Yoop.
Yeah, good night for you. But yeah, Patrick Mahomes sounds more and more like a Muppet character every time I hear him talk.
Yeah,
Whoa!
I've had enough of his commercials.
Whoa! Wait a minute here. All right. Breaking news here: Braves just acquired Jared Kelenic. Man, dude, Atlanta's a machine. Wow.
What are the Mariners doing? I guess Jared Kelenic, he had a great first half and kind of tapered off during the second half, but Suarez, now Kelenic, I mean, your competitive windows right now, what the heck?
Yeah, I mean, I know Justin Hollander is the Mariners GM now, but is Jerry DePito still making the trades, or?
No idea.
Oh, wow. All right. So on that note, that's a good way to end the podcast. But like I said, if anything Tiger related, we'll let you know. Have a good week, everybody. We'll talk to you soon.